Hi everyone, welcome to part 4 of our family enrollment series. In this video we are going to walk through an entire family enrollment. We're going to pay careful attention to dates and talk about some common problems that will appear. Before we get started, I do want to, just as an intro, let people know that this is a series. We've already had 3 videos. The first video is basic navigation of how to see who is in each family, how to change relationship to head of household, how to change family name. The second video is how to add existing clients to a family. The third video is how to add somebody brand new to the database to a family. And this fourth video is on enrolling that family. Crucial point is before you start an enrollment, you need to have the family structure all together and you need to have client IDs for every single family member. When we start trying to just add people in the middle of the workflow, there's a higher chance for duplicates. We've actually been training it that way to add people in the middle of the workflow just because there's so much information with families, it gets to be overwhelming. So I recognize that what people heard in the initial trainings is not best practice, but for the amount that can be absorbed, that's the way that we decided to go. So please share this information. Please share these videos with coworkers so that everybody can really follow best practices. So again, before we get going, we want to have the entire family structure together. And I know based on the work that I've been doing that this is not the correct family ID. I don't have to start with the correct family ID, but I just want to show everybody that we have all 5 clients together. So I do want the family ID in the top left corner. All right, and with King Tut as our head of household, we can see all 5 family members are here. We can see right here that the family name is still the custom name that I chose last time. If that had changed, I could follow the same steps to change it back. And we're going to go ahead and start the, one thing I do want to show, because this is a very common mistake, is that King Tut has an enrollment in this rapid rehousing program, but it shows that assessments are pending. And if I go to any family member, they all have a place for training, rapid rehousing, on their client dashboard. It looks like this is an open and active program enrollment because it is. But when we go to their program enrollment screen, excuse me, we can see that they're not completely enrolled. It says assessments pending. And we'll talk about why this happens as we get into the workflow, but I wanted to point that out now so that you have something to refer to. All right, so we are going to enroll this family in a transitional housing project. We're searching for King Tut. One thing that happens quite frequently are just misspellings. So if you type in the client's name and you check for duplicates and they don't appear, please don't click this is a new client. We already know that King Tut has a record in the database, so you would just cancel out of this and do your search again. Here we can see King Tut Partners in Care. This is the family structure that we want. It's a good thing I renamed it, so we're going to select that record. It'll populate with all his information. Just go through and check to make sure that it's still accurate. You can add what you need to add. Ultimately, if you are the person who is clicking save, sorry, there's no save button, so I'm just going to maximize this and it'll appear. When you click save, you're certifying this information is accurate, so you want it to match what you have on your paperwork. You can update current address, and for the date of consent, this should really be the date that King Tut signed the consent form. I'm going to say that I actually worked with King Tut last week, and he signed the consent form on 4/20. So even though I'm doing data entry a couple of days after, I want to change the date of consent to the date on the consent form, and we'll click save. So our progress is over here on the left. I'm now on the Hawaii Add Family page, and we can see that everybody we want to work with already shows up here. In the past, we've said you could add somebody here with the Add Client row. for those of you who have watched the videos, this is the same page we use to add somebody who is brand new to the database. The problem is you can't do any research to see if the client has a duplicate record or if that's the record you actually want to use. So again, make sure you have the family structure intact before you do anything else. I want to show a couple of errors that will pop up quite commonly. Let me just come down here. And I tried this once before and it actually didn't appear as an error. But right now I have Duke Tet and I just set the relationship to head of household as self for Duke Tet. But King Tet also has relationship to head of household as self. If you have two clients where the relationship to head of household is self, you are going to get an error. And it'll say you can have one and only one head of household. So if that's an error that you see, you just need to click on the little check mark to expand the client's record, and then you can change the head of household to whatever is accurate. So we'll click Save. The Hawaii Enrollment Add Edit page is where we are now. This is a super important page. This is where we choose the enrollment entry date. So if I'm doing data entry, and for our COC, we want to enter data within 3 days. Ideally, we'd enter data the same day the client starts receiving services, but our target as a COC right now is 3 days. Let's say, just for the sake of practice and examples, let's say that this client actually started receiving services on April 20th. I want to make sure I have the correct enrollment entry date here. I'm going to choose the program. We're doing transitional housing. I'm going to choose the provider. Sometimes this will auto-populate to whatever you have in your corner here. You can change it if you would like, but if nothing's there, you do need to enter it. And again, sometimes this happens where there's no save button, so I'm just going to hit the maximize button up here, and we now have the save button. To assign a case manager, you click here on Assign Case Manager, and you'll see that there's a pop-up, and you can check, select whoever in your organization is working directly with these clients. Okay, at this point, if I click Save, King Tet is the only person who is enrolled in this program. To enroll other people, I just have to click the little check mark by their name. So if I want to enroll everybody in this family, I have to click the check mark by all their names. The other thing that I have to do is I have to change the begin date because it will always default to today. But they actually enrolled in the program and started receiving services on 4/20/2020. Now, at this point, if you get to this page and you think to yourself, oh, I didn't change the date, they actually started receiving services on a different time and I just left it with today's date. If you were to exit right now, let me just minimize this. If you were to exit right now to try to stop the workflow, you are going to get this situation where clients are enrolled and there are assessments pending. If you wanted to delete that, you would have to go and delete it from every single client's record. So we had this situation that I talked about at first where this rapid rehousing program appeared on everybody's program enrollment screen. That's because most likely somebody exited the workflow at this point. So if this happens, if there's an error with the date, we can always change it afterwards. So I would recommend just keep going with the workflow, email hmis@auw.org, and we will assist with trying to change the date. If you just try to change the dates here, let's say they actually started receiving services on the 15th, you're going to see an error. Begin date can't be prior to the enrollment date. So whatever date you selected on this previous screen where we had the program and the provider, you cannot enroll anybody before that. You can enroll people after it, but you can't have anything before it. Okay, so that's a common area for confusion. So let me go ahead, and they enrolled as a family unit all together at the same time. So I just copied the date, and I'm doing Control-V to paste it. I can also check relationship to head of household here and make changes if need be. and then click Save and move on. All right, and we can see over here on the left-hand side, we have a family of 5, and so we have to enter data for 5 different people. Anybody who is an adult, we're going to have to enter more data than we do for the children. Let's see, we're doing transitional housing, disabling conditions, and this is where I am just entering the information that I have on my paperwork. And we can see that we're entering assessments. Unfortunately, this little blue bar over on the left, it doesn't show us our progress through this area. To see the progress, you have to look up here on the left-hand side. And we can see the client that we're working with, King Tut, and we can see that we're on program data. So we're here. And now we're on financial assessment. This will only appear for people who are over 18 or for heads of household. And I'm not going to do the enrollments for everybody, but I do want to show how we transition to Clean Tut, and then when we're done with the enrollment, how everything looks. All right, so I'm still on King Tut. I was on the Hawaii specific data elements assessment. When I click Save, again, it's not super clear, but I'm now working with Clean Tut's record. And I'm going to be entering, because she's an adult, I'm going to be entering all the same information for her. And so it may be the same as the head of household, but maybe not. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the data entry for everybody, but I just wanted to show where you have to look up here in the top left-hand corner to see whose records you're in, which is super important when you're entering data for a family and you have multiple children. And then also to see your progress through it. Again, in this case, because we have 5 people, we would need to enter data for all of them. If there are any services that your program provides, you would be able to add that on the very last screen. Okay. It can take a half hour, 45 minutes to enter data, so please just plan accordingly. And right now it's going to show up as assessments pending because we did not finish the workflow completely. But when you do finish the workflow completely, it'll say enrolled, like it does here. Okay. Please let us know if you have any questions. Family enrollments do get to be very complicated. We'll have a couple more videos in this series. The next one is going to be how to add a family member late. So let's say this family enrolled on 4/20 and today 4/28 somebody else joins them. So we'll show that in just a moment. All right, guys, have a great day.